Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're back in GTA Online for a special edition of what to buy and what to avoid in GTA Online. But specifically, we're going to be talking about what vehicles to buy and what vehicles to avoid from the new DLC, Oscar Guzman Flies Again. But also in this video, we're going to be talking about what of the new vehicles that are also HSW capable that have been added to PC are worth buying or not. So anyway, we're going to start off with the DLC stuff, including the aircraft and the Cockhead D5 and all that stuff. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the new cars that are available on PC with the enhanced version of GTA Online. So anyway, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, dislike if you don't, and consider subscribing if you're new. Let's go ahead and get started with the first vehicle. To start things off, we get the Buckingham DH7 Iron Mule for $1,758,750 to $2,345,000 if you don't have the trade price. This thing is an absolute must-buy in GTA Online as far as I'm concerned. This vehicle can lift bunker sale vehicles as well as ammunition delivery trucks that are also found within the bunker, and take it with a grain of salt, but I do believe that it can also lift nightclub delivery vehicles as well. Now unfortunately it can't do MC vehicles, which is a huge shame, but it can do vehicle cargo and things like that as well. So it's a very, very useful helicopter with some great potential, and it's also got some really good armor to go along with it. It can take 6 homing missiles or 4 RPGs. It can seat 16 players, and it completely puts the cargo bob to shame in literally every possible way. It accelerates faster, it flies in a completely straight line, and turbulence is not a thing in this helicopter. Whereas with the Cargo Bob and many other aircraft in GTA Online, turbulence is definitely something you have to contend with, but with the Iron Mule, it is entirely gone. This thing is actually incredibly good, and it is a great vehicle to purchase, and it can save you a lot of time on your bunker missions, for example, and it can even enable you to do solo bunker sales with multiple vehicles and with maybe even selling a full bunker, just due to the fact that you can use this helicopter to get those sale vehicles from point A to point B really, really quickly. And this thing is super fast, guys. So definitely pick up a Buckingham DH7 Iron Mule. I don't really think it's worth going for the trade price unless you like really care or you're already doing the Oscar Guzman stuff. But I think for the vast majority of people, you're going to get the value out of the $2,345,000 or the non-trade price. So I would say just purchase it for that full price as soon as possible. If you really want to go for the trade price, I mean, you can, for sure, why not? Moving on to the Eberhard Titan 250D for $3,652,500 to $4,870,000. This thing is a little bit of a toss-up for me because if you do play with friends, I do feel like this vehicle could be worth purchasing, but for solo players, I would absolutely avoid buying the Titan 250D because it does not provide much value without other players being able to help you to operate it. Even if you do play with friends though, you should still really consider if the vehicle is actually going to be useful for you, or if you're just going to use it kind of one time or here and there to just have some fun, and see if that amount of money that it's going to cost you is actually worth the amount of use that you are going to get out of the vehicle. For most players, I don't think this thing is going to be overly useful. I can't really picture anything in my mind of where you're really going to need a Titan 250D. It is a really cool novelty item. I'm really glad that I have one. I plan to use it a lot in the future, but I do think that if you are going to purchase this thing, I would definitely recommend trying to get the trade price for it so it's not nearly $5 million for this plane. And that way, even if you don't use it as much as you thought you were going to, you haven't been scammed nearly as hard, and you haven't put as much money into this thing. You'd save about $1.2 million. So I do think going for the trade price on this thing is worth it for most people. But if you're a solo player, I would completely avoid the Titan 250D. As fun as it is and everything like that, it's not going to be useful as a solo. The only thing that you can operate as a solo player is the 40mm cannon, which has pretty limited range and is overall not very good, especially comparatively to the 25mm and the 105mm cannons that the vehicle also possesses. So I would say for most people, avoid the Titan 250D, particularly if you're a solo player. Of course, we have the Western Duster 300H for $765,000 to $1,020,000. The Duster 300H is pretty much useless and is almost entirely a waste of money. The Duster, especially compared to the Rogue, which is only another $200,000 to $500,000 more than the Duster, depending on if you have the trade price or not, really shows a massive contrast in value for your money. The Duster can be equipped with machine guns and countermeasures, and that is it. Whereas the Rogue can be equipped with explosive machine guns, which deal a much more significant amount of damage. It can also seat 2 players, and it has homing and non-homing missiles as well as bombs and countermeasures. So the Rogue is significantly better than the Duster, and on top of it all, the Rogue is actually a lot faster and a lot more maneuverable than the Duster as well. So if you were considering getting the Duster, I would definitely save up an extra $200,000 or $500,000 ish to get the Rogue, because you're going to get so much more value out of the Rogue than you are out of the Duster. It really is just a complete waste of money. Next up, for the last DLC vehicle, we have the Invitero Cockhead D5 for $1,730,000. And I personally love the Cockhead D5, and I do think it's quite fast and has really good handling and generally just good performance overall. However, customization wise, I was quite disappointed with this vehicle, largely due to the roof not being color matched to the rest of the car, but more so the fact that there's literally nothing that can be done about it. We don't even get the option to remove the roof at least, let alone color it or anything like that. So I do think that is a shame, and I think this car is a bit overpriced for what you're actually getting. And the customization could have been a lot better generally, but the roof thing is like unforgivable in my opinion. I would wait for this thing to go on sale before buying it if you are interested in it, because I do feel like if you could get it for like $1.2 million, that is a much better price for what you're actually getting from the vehicle. Overall, it's awesome. It looks really cool. It just could have a much better customization, and it could be about $500,000 cheaper, and I think that it would be pretty reasonable. The Cockhead D5 is still an awesome car. If you really want to buy it right now for the full price, you can totally do that, but just be aware of that roof thing, because that is such a cardinal sin in my opinion. Alright, and now it's time to go over the new cars on PC. Now if you play on the Xbox Series S or X or PlayStation 5 version of GTA Online, you will probably already know about these vehicles, but I'm going to talk about them anyways, and if you care to stick around, you can totally do that. First up, we got the Weaponized Ignis. It's going to cost you $4.5 million, and the Weaponized Ignis, while being an awesome car generally, is a little bit overpriced in my opinion. I think that if you want a vehicle with great performance and HSW, you can look to the Ubermacht Niobe or the Banshee GTS. Both are faster in a straight line, both have better top speeds, and they both have great handling and are just awesome cars with some good customization. The Weaponized Ignis obviously does get the top-mounted minigun on it, which is awesome in theory, but in practice, the 30 degrees of movement is actually kind of a huge buzzkill with that. Now, it does come with a built-in missile lock-on jammer, which you don't have to pay for, and that is pretty great, but I don't really think it's necessarily worth the price premium that you're paying to get the Weaponized Ignis. It's an awesome car, and I think that you should have one, but if you're working on a tighter budget, I think there are more important cars to get before the Weaponized Ignis, especially if you want to complete the HSW time trials and things like that. I don't think the Ignis is the best car. I would wait for this thing to go on sale before purchasing it if you're really excited about getting it eventually. I would definitely wait for it to go on sale, and I would take your money and maybe purchase the HSW upgrade for the Bravado Banshee GTS or the Ubermacht Niobe, as I said earlier. Next up, we got the Coil Cyclone 2, and it is a complete pile of shit. For $2,250,000 plus the cost of HSW, it is the most expensive car that I've ever driven in GTA Online that is so unbelievably terrible. This thing actually puts the Pegasi Tesseract to shame with how bad it is for how much money it costs. It has a serious understeer issue, but on top of that, it also has a serious torque steer issue. And additionally to both of those issues, it has a snap oversteer problem that will see you hitting a lamppost or telephone pole in record time while trying to go around a corner. Even if you're not accelerating, even if you have no gas applied on the vehicle at all, you will still find a way to spin out in this thing, which is absolutely awful and completely unforgivable in my opinion. Customization wise, it's also really underwhelming, and I just generally think that it is a car that I would highly recommend avoiding. I think no matter what, you'll be disappointed in this car, and even if you get it on sale, I don't think it's worth it. The Coil Cyclone 2 is truly a pile of shit, and I do not recommend buying it. Next up, we got the Karen S95 for $1,995,000 plus the cost of HSW, and it's supposed to be free if you're on PC, but actually it charged me when I went to claim it, which was absolutely lovely. I heard this happened to many people, which is simply great. The S95 is actually a pretty awesome car, and I think if you actually get it for free, it is pretty easily one of the best HSW capable vehicles that is new to the PC platform as far as value goes, given the fact that it's technically supposed to be free. So if you can get it for free, I think it's an awesome car. But if you were actually paying $2 million for the S95, I don't actually think it's that awesome. However, it is really fast, has a pretty good top speed and great acceleration, while having decent handling as well, but it is prone to spinning out on you in corners, especially under acceleration, so that is something to note. The customization for this car is actually pretty good, unlike most of the other HSW capable cars that got added to PC today and that have been out on the Xbox Series S and X and PlayStation 5 version of the game since the enhanced version got released on there as well. Next up, we got the Imponte Arbiter GT for $1,580,000 plus the cost of HSW. And this thing unfortunately has the same advanced handling flags as the Declassi Vamos, which is really not good. At least I think it does, because it definitely feels just like the Vamos. And that means that it is really hard to control in the corners, but also even in a straight line. While this vehicle is still much better than the Coil Cyclone 2, it's not nearly as good as the weaponized Ignis, S95, or the Pfister Astron Custom. The customization was also pretty lacking on the Arbiter GT, it felt like, unfortunately, so sadly there's not much good to report about this vehicle other than the fact that the car just looks awesome. So if you want a good piece to just sit in your garage and not drive, this vehicle can do that for you, but it will cost you a lot of money for what is effectively going to be a statue. And last but not least, the final car we need to talk about is the Pfister Astron Custom, which is $1,720,000 plus the cost of HSW. And the Astron Custom is actually one of the better new vehicles that we got on the PC platform with the enhanced upgrade for GTA 5. It's really fast with HSW, and the only real beef I have with this thing is that the brakes are not good enough to stop it all the time, especially given how fast it is. I do think though it is worth getting for the performance aspect of it, and the fact you can have 4 players in it is also really great. It's pretty decent off-road as well. It has good ground clearance. It looks awesome. The customization is pretty great too. The Astron Custom is also the fastest SUV in Grand Theft Auto Online as well. So that is definitely something to note too. Overall, the Astron Custom is just fantastic. I would definitely purchase this thing. I think it's very much so worth it. So there you have it, guys. Those are the vehicles that I would buy, and those are the vehicles that I would avoid in GTA Online that just got added into the game. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Leave a like if you enjoyed the video or if you learned something, dislike if you didn't, and consider subscribing to my channel if you guys are new. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care. Peace.